So at its core, when I say stewardship is worship, I think, and this is probably something we've heard before, is worship is coming to a revelation of who God is, and then our reflection of that back to Him, our glorifying Him back based on what we know about Him and what we come to know about Him. And so financial stewardship is, if I come to understanding of everything is God's, and then how is it that my worship then reflects back to Him through the use of my finances. If I'm trying to follow God and reflect God in worship with my financial resources, that has to mean that I'm generous because I'm following a generous God. And how do I maximize my generosity? And I think that's that fundamental question of how do I maximize my generosity? How do I maximize glorifying God with financial resources, which is the primary resource that our culture operates under. We as people, I think, have to have a discipline established in our financial lives that allow us to be generous, and there also has to be a joyous generosity involved. I think those are two sides to stewardship that have to balance each other. Build a lifestyle that's, affordable, that's reasonable, that allows some pleasures, but is also disciplined. And then anytime that you're able to make more money, your lifestyle doesn't have to change. You can be generous with that money so that we have the flexibility to react to when God calls us to do more with our resources. We don't feel that culture should dictate our lifestyle. We feel that our worship of God should dictate our lifestyle. People probably find themselves in too much debt, and we know that debt can be a burden. We can be enslaved to debt, and that can really drive our lifestyle. It's just making debt payments. I think just being an American and being a consumer almost dictates we have to have a certain level of spending, or we are entitled to a certain number of things, that entitled to a lifestyle that drives a certain income level, and then we spend accordingly without actually stepping back and choosing specific areas of our life to build a lifestyle around, just choosing pleasures here, choosing a lifestyle here, an acceptable level of debt, whether that be a mortgage or something, and living on that. I don't think it's a cognizant thought to actually step back and look at the resources they're giving and how they're spending them then, and how they spend them actually reflects what they actually value. I think you often hear somebody say they can't afford to do this or they can't afford to do that. But what they're really saying is their values are placed somewhere else. If we looked at spending here, what that really says about our heart and our actions, and how that's offset with where we're not spending, or where we're not giving, or where we're not being generous because we're consuming over here. Whereas the American lifestyle may lead you to think that consumerism is justifiable and right, but we're withholding generosity in a significant level. I think that thought is just one of the bigger impediments to sound biblical financial stewardship, of just not thinking about the heart matter of how we spend our money. The piece I think I always try to come back to is, it seems like when the church talks about money, it doesn't ring with probably the person that it needs to resonate with. I think financial stewardship has to hit home with everybody. It has to be a discipline. Even if you're making your bills, you don't have credit card debt, maybe you think you're doing fine, and you're giving to the church, whatever that dollar amount may be. I think the discipline of financial stewardship has to be an ongoing assessment of your life based on what God is providing for you in the different seasons of your life. And that can look, I think it's hard to just say you're going to give this amount and give that for the rest of your life. I think you should give based on what God gives you, and because that's dynamic and changing, your financial stewardship should be dynamic and changing, and one that's a matter of significant prayer. I think if you boil it down, financial stewardship at its core has to be about worship. It is about worship. It's about our coming to the grip that God owns everything, and all we're doing is giving back to Him. Along with the fact that we know that God gave everything for us, so why would we hold anything back and not give everything back to God?